everyone. Welcome. I'm Patrick with Applichat Healthcare. We're just getting queued up for our next webinar, today's webinar, and we've got some folks joining the room here, so we'll just take a moment to let people join in. But as I said, my name is Patrick Thiele. I'm COO of Applichat Healthcare, and we host webinars about every 2 weeks or so, typically on the topic of nurse recruitment or healthcare recruitment, HR issues. And today we're going to talk about writing job ads that nurses care about. So I will give a bit of an introduction about that shortly. Speaking about Applichat Healthcare, our role is to work with healthcare organizations in the US and Canada. We work with all types of healthcare organizations to help them get a larger audience of nurses for their job vacancies, to help them hire more permanent nurses on an ongoing basis. So we do that through our ongoing sourcing campaigns and virtual hiring events, and we screen and engage with applicants to make sure we bring our clients qualified applicants. So if someone's interested in hearing more about how we do that, feel free to send me a message either in the chat here or on LinkedIn, and we can follow up on that. I'll post my link in the chat in a moment. So as I said, today we're going to be speaking about writing job ads that nurses care about. And if you saw the description as you signed up, the goal is to teach and inspire recruitment teams to write better job ads. Our team today is going to argue that for a job ad to be good, nurses need to care about it and be enticed to apply by the writing and information shared. So our team, I'm proud that our team speaking today are two of my colleagues from Applichat, Adam and Jason, and I'll let them introduce themselves in a moment. And just before we start, as I said, I'm going to put a link in the chat momentarily and encourage you all to join our Nurse Recruitment Secrets Facebook group so you can learn and connect with other nurse recruiters and share ideas. And sign up for our regular newsletter. We post a newsletter about once a month. And certainly you can sign up for our ongoing webinar series, as well as watch some of our previous webinars that we've posted. So I'll post that here shortly. And at the end of this session today, I'm going to share with you the next webinar that we have scheduled that will happen in a couple of weeks. And I'm looking forward to telling you about the special guests we have lined up for that. So on that note, Adam, I'll turn it over to you and you and Jason to get started.
Great, thank you so much. Always good to see you, Patrick, on these. Thanks for coming. And thanks everybody for joining. So as Patrick mentioned, today we're going to be talking about writing job advertisements. And this is quite an important topic because your job advertisement really is your shop front that you're presenting to a nurse. And often it's their first interaction with you. First impressions last, and attention is in very high demand but short supply these days. So it's important to get it right the first time and have a well-written, persuasive job ad, which is going to make a nurse want to keep getting to know your organization and potentially apply to one of your positions. So we want to share some of our insights on how to improve that in your own organization today. We do this professionally currently we have around 17 clients, and we're running maybe like 30 campaigns, 2 or so for each client at any one time. So we're spending a lot, we're learning a lot, and we want to be able to share that with you. So if you don't have the resources, or if you're just simply looking to get better, then you'll be able to benefit from some of our learnings. So I have a little presentation, and first of all, I'm going to introduce Jason, who's a new member of our team. He's been with us for a couple of months. Jason is an account manager at Applichat, and he's also involved in creating a lot of our advertisements. I've known Jason for around 4 or 5 years, and actually he was one of my inspirations for starting a business, and he's got a very interesting background. So Jason, first of all, could you tell us a little bit more about your background in writing and your background in recruiting?
Yeah, absolutely. So it first started off, I graduated from university studying creative writing. I decided to turn my dissertation into an actual published novel. So I wrote out a full-sized fantasy novel, and this really taught me a lot about writing. And so, yeah, I went the self-published route for a while. And I decided to use my writing in a different way. I decided to start a blog to advertise online jobs, because this was something I was doing alongside trying to be a best-selling author. And so I discovered that people actually really responded to these jobs because of the blog story that went along with it. And this led me into this whole recruitment area. The website now is still running as a recruitment website, and it's less about the blog. But this is what really kick-started it off and taught me a lot about writing and recruiting in general.
I'm going to just share my screen now so people can see what that looks like. So this is a blog based around getting an online job. And in the course of creating this, you were essentially selling these different companies and the prospect of working with them.
Yeah, sure.
And I think this is really interesting background for us over in nurse recruitment, because the healthcare recruitment space is a little archaic at times, and new ideas are very valuable, and especially coming from different types of recruitment or different types of marketing, they always should be listened to. So that's why I find that background particularly interesting. And another thing about you, Jason, that we like is that, as you said, you have written, and you have written books before. How does that knowledge of how to tell a story come into your job ad writing?
Yeah, because I mean, you can fall into the trap of treating ads like a sort of fishing net, where you give all the information, this is how much the pay is, and then you just hope someone comes into the net. With the whole storytelling element, you just learn how to engage people more. People naturally love stories, and people naturally want to read stories rather than just information. So it's just a way of transferring the information to someone in a much more delicate and a much more intuitive way.
Yeah. Okay. And we're going to jump into a little bit more about that now. So how we're going to structure this, everybody, is as follows. We're going to talk about, we talked about the power of storytelling, and we're going to talk about how to make nurses care about a job ad, why being creative doesn't have to be complicated. You can use templates to improve your quality in it quickly. And we'll also share some examples of campaigns that we find to be inspiring and creative. So today it's all about, as the title says, helping you write job ads that nurses actually care about without having to get lengthy approval from above or having to become an expert copywriter. This is really important because whenever you think about it, there's so much competition for every nurse out there. It's getting harder and harder to stand out. Whenever you add on all the other brands that are trying to advertise to people, like Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Sears, I don't know if they're still about, you're going to be drowned out if you're not interesting, especially if you're trying to be a bit more out there and advertise on social media. You need to be competing against these massive brands. So the question is, how do you do it? If you use facts, then according to Actual Minds, Possible Worlds, a book by psychologist Bruner, you can get 22 times more likelihood to be remembered if you include that information as part of a story, and it also will help you become more trustworthy. So what we're going to first do to talk a little bit about this is discuss how can we make nurses care about a job ad. And the first point that I had in mind was actually bringing in stories from facility or organization as a whole that feature a nurse in an image or even in the text, and tells the reader a little bit more about their background, how they progress through the organization, and who they are. Jason, in like the recent ads, could you share a little bit more about occasions that we've done that whenever we've like spotlight a particular member of staff or a particular department and told a story about it?
Yeah, I mean, a really good example was an ad trying to advertise that they have a promote from within culture. So there was a particular story of a nurse that started, and it was just their story of through the years they got these promotions and eventually made their way to the top. And it was just really good to have this like real story that you could use to display what your headline was actually saying. That's one of the big reasons why people love job reviews on websites, because they want the reality. They don't want to read an ad saying this is the best job in the world. Like, give me facts, give me stories.
Yeah, exactly. I want to share an example that we put together for this. There we go. Like, so here you can see in this ad, right? We've called out something which is true. So we're not hiding the fact that being a nurse is tough, and we've had clients that have hidden that, and they've hired the nurses, and then whenever the nurse gets on the floor, they say, "Oh no, this is not for me," which has been a waste of time for everybody. So we've found that if you're able to actually spin your negatives into a positive, then you can actually attract the type of nurse that you want, rather than try and attract a broad range and then they drop out whenever they realize what the actual truth is.
Mm-hmm.
You can see here in this example, they've just pinpointed the name of somebody who worked there. Stephen Andrews started in 2008 as an RN and was promoted to assistant clinical manager and is now the clinical manager of ER. So instead of saying in one of these bullet points, this hospital has a strong promote within culture, you have to kind of pull that out through a story. We always say, if you are one of these organizations that says competitive compensation, market leading benefits, but you're not allowed to actually say what that is, and that is a common issue because management don't want to share what salaries are being offered to new nurses in case current nurses find out and ask for a pay rise. That's real, that happens. Being able to pull out a story here is an alternative way to make it interesting without having to actually say something you're not allowed to say.
Exactly. I'd like to touch on that because this was actually born out of that, where you really don't have a lot of selling points for restrictions or whatever. So you have to really get creative. And the actual technique used for constructing an ad like this was going onto a subreddit on reddit.com, like to do with nurses. And I find going onto Reddit is a really great way to get people saying their true opinions, because they don't have a profile picture, they're not using their real name, so they feel a lot more comfortable to share their real opinions. And so through doing this, you get to realize the language that they're using or the problems that they have, the pain points, and you can really start to speak in their language. And once you master doing that, which is very simple, you just have to a little read every now and then. You get people looking at your ad and they think like, this is speaking to me because this is how I talk. So this is just a way of storytelling, because your story needs a character, needs a main character, and the main character is the nurse that you want to apply for the job. That's your main character. So the book needs to speak to them, or the ad needs to speak to them.
Yeah. And what I'm going to do then to back that up is go on Reddit, which you mentioned. So Reddit is, do you remember like 15 years ago, there would be a forum for everything? So you would have your like parental forum and your dog walking forum. Each had their own website. Reddit has sort of collated a bunch of forums, and people make what's called a subreddit, which is essentially a forum within their grander forum. And anyone can make one. And if you go on reddit.com and search nursing or nurses, then you'll be able to find what Jason is referring to. And what he's mentioning is if you come onto one of these comment threads, it's almost like being a fly on a wall in their the changing room or in the unit. You can hear what they're saying, and you can see about what some of their language is, and that's going to be really useful.
More so than Facebook, like groups and communities for sure, because people still have in their heads like my picture's on display, my name's on display. I can't really give all of myself. So you don't really get the true feelings. That's why I think Reddit is great for this.
Yeah. Now, of course, you can't just like copy and paste what they're saying because these things have to be approved. And often a system is going to want there to be one standardized advertisement. But what we're trying to do is encourage like organizations to think a little bit differently, and within that standard advertisement have something creative like this that can get approved, can include the stories of something that's happened in the facility and be on brand, but it can also be creative and scalable.
It's getting that balance right between, pleasing the clients, but also speaking the nurse's language at the same time. So yeah, spinning those two plates are quite difficult, but it can be very successful if you get it right.
A few more tips then on how to make the nurses care about job ad. So it's important to stand out because the average person scrolls 300 feet a day, which is the same as the Statue of Liberty. I love that fact. I didn't insert the photo because I think everyone knows what that looks like. But that's crazy. You have to stand out and you have to get action. We've found if you don't use a stock photo, if you use a photo of the facility or actual staff, we can definitively say you're going to get more applications. Like, through our spend, that's proven. That's a proven fact by us. let us know if you want the data on that to show to your team who are telling you, just use stock photo. We don't want to bother the staff. If the staff are working and you're taking photos of them and you're just putting them on your website, then you should be able to put them in a job ad on your social media or even like on the careers page of part of your website. So you can see here we've got some like reality photos, and these are more human. Like they just feel more human. There's something, I think there's a title for it where a human can distinguish if someone's a robot or not. And I think that that same feeling is very slightly activated whenever we see a stock photo versus whenever we see a real photo. And then coming back to our example here, if you're going to mention something as being a main selling point, then make it front and center as part of your story. So you can see here in this ad, we've made this stand out. It breaks the pattern of the rest of the content they will be seeing, and it asks a rhetorical question, which is going to get them thinking, and they're going to be wondering, well, why not me? Like, what are they talking about? So, yes. If you look up under our next section, which is why being creative doesn't have to be complicated, another useful strategy that you can use, talk about that, is on the template side of things. So we have found that if you're able to make a template that has reasons for working at the hospital, then this is a very easy way to organize the different benefits and selling points into a presentable manner which a nurse is going to care about. So, Jason, could you share like a little bit more about like the structure of this ad and why it's been working for us?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can share from a blogging viewpoint that list articles are always very popular. They always get the most engagement and the highest rankings on Google
Mm.
because people just really want to digest this information. It's because it's structured for them within this template. So it looks as if like I'm going to be able to easily get this information because it's in a list, and one by one it will tell me what I want to know. So if you want to start your ad with this, and your ad is pretty much complete because that's what the nurses want to know. They want to know what's the benefits of applying to this job. So your creativity, just by finding what the benefits are and putting them in a list, you've won half the battle. After that, you can start to fill out the rest of your ad, a little bit about who you're recruiting for, and at the top, this is where you can sort of start to speak the nurse's language and sort of engage them very quickly with because the aim of the game is whoever you want reading your ad, you want them to be saying yes. You don't want them to be saying no. So the start of your ad has got to get them nodding along to it. And you do this by speaking their language, asking them questions where it's like, do you want this? And, it's rhetorical, but they're still going to be thinking, yeah, I do want that. And then you get them on to the benefits. So that's, if you're feeling like a creative block with ads, you just know that, okay, I can start with the benefits. After that, things should start rolling because I have these sections here. I fill out this section. I can fill out this section. So you've got your intro with speaking the language. You've got a little bit about the company. Then you've got all your benefits. And then you've got your call to action. So if you compartmentalize it for yourself in that way, it tackles the creative block much quicker.
Mm-hmm. And in copywriting school, there is acronym HIDA, which means headline, interest, development, and then action. So you want to start with something that stands out, the headline, that big 5 or 6 words which grabs the attention. You want to build their interest by giving them a little more information and developing the offer and then asking them to take action. So by using a template, like an acronym to organize your template, you can be creative without having to write something new every single time.
Absolutely, because it's hard staring at a blank page. But if your blank page has these little headings to help you, it's not a blank page anymore, and you can get started easier.
Yeah. Another thing to make nurses care about your job ads is tell them why they should care. Go that extra step and don't just wait for their reaction or hope that they'll react with that they care about it. So, for example, the lesser way to do this would be to say, earn 40 to 75 an hour, highly competitive pay and comprehensive benefits, and just ending it there. What you want to do is explain to them why that actually is a good thing. So for this one, it's quite obvious. Like, you can provide a better life for your family, but think about who you're actually targeting in your nurse marketplace and think about what they want. And we can see here, again, more time to spend with people that you love if you only work every 3rd weekend. You have everything you need to do your job. We see so many lists of information, and it's useful to spell it out a little bit more because this is what nurses want to see, really. They want to see why that's important for them, why they should care about that, why it's relevant for them. So it's not like a magic voodoo trick where you need to write a perfect ad, which will make them then care. Like, write the ad and then tell them why they should care about it as well. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen there. And what we would like to do is invite you all to ask any questions if you have any queries on how you could write better job ads. If you have any examples of job ads you've written, we'll happily have a look over them and give you some feedback and help you improve. To close our presentation, we wanted to look at some of our favorite advertising campaigns, some of the most famous job advertising campaigns in history that are, again, outside of nurse recruitment, so we could bring in outside ideas and influence. So this is probably the most, let's say, not maybe most successful in terms of the amount of people who signed up. So in America's history, at least, signing up to the Army, the Navy, or the Air Force in the Second World War. What I love about this one is like that finger that just follows you about wherever you go. And you can see in this ad, like, it's making them care because it's evoking their sense of identity by featuring Uncle Sam, who's personifying America. And then the way it's visually set up is following you about. So it's as if you can't really escape from it. And wherever you go, you're going to be continually pointed at. This is really creative, and it shows that like your ad doesn't have to be really flashy and complicated to be effective. It's always better actually just to have one idea, something that's simple and that evokes a feeling or emotion inside somebody related to, it could be their sense of identity, their sense of needing to provide for their family, or their sense of career ambitions. This ad worked because that's what it spoke to. And I know this is a different era, this is a different ad for a completely different thing. But I wanted to touch upon it because there's something there that we can take inspiration from.
And it probably still would have worked on Facebook ads in the modern day, you know, because what's so perfect about this is like, it's like the earliest form of targeting. It's like the point makes the person feel like, all right, I'm engaged now. Just from that imagery there, I'm engaged. And that's what we're trying to do with using the language, is to kind of point a finger and be like, we're talking to you. This ad is for you. It's not for whoever we can get. We've made this for you. And that's what this is trying to get at.
Yeah, it's not for just anyone.
Yeah.
But it is at the same time for everyone who sees it. Speaking of that, this is a famous ad from the UK for its ability to like be divisive almost, so that it can make its target audience much more enthusiastic. So and this has been repeated a lot, where the ad says the type of person that this isn't for by describing the negative parts of the position. So small wages, like bitter cold, constant danger, and then flipping it around and bringing in the positives. Honor and recognition in case of success, which are only made possible because of the negatives. What this ad is saying is, if you're going to believe that this outcome isn't worth the effort that you put in, then don't bother applying. But if you're the type of person that cares so much for honor and recognition, it's going to be worth it to go through this problem. If we think about our current example of nurse recruitment, I wouldn't be so extreme and say, like, for hazardous conditions, unsafe ratios, like, don't ham it up, because this ad's looking for adventurers. And what you can take inspiration from is you want to kind of word it in a way that it's going to make your ideal nurse, and you'll know who that is, get riled up and feel emotional about it and feel like they're being separated from the rest of the bunch by being called out in this ad.
Yeah, you don't want impressions, you want people applying. So to do that, you need to find the exact people who 100% want to do it. So yeah, if you're just trying to get as many people to see your ad as possible and not take action, then you can just put any fluffy thing on there that you want. But if you want to show like the real nature of the job and engage people, and they already know that there's negative sides of it, you don't really have to say it. They know that like the world's not all roses. But if you can show them that the positives outweigh the negatives, then they're already prepared to go for the job.
Yeah. Important thing to remember here again is, like, because a lot of people are posting en masse from their ATS, you only have to create one kind of ad template that then goes out across the board. So it's not like you have to come up with a unique campaign each time. What we're kind of advising here, and I'll share my screen one last time, is that go on to Indeed. I just searched RN in Seattle. If you look at this section of the ad here, you can see, like, let's see. You can see we've got responsibilities here. We've got qualifications here. If we scroll up, we've got the description of the role, and we've got a 20,000 sign-on bonus. What we're saying here is you can build out this section much more and be persuasive and make nurses care, but so that by the time they got to this, they want to read on and they're interested. So what we do whenever we create advertising campaigns is really focus in on this top section. You can see here, what's the more interesting opener? Do you want to work at the #1 cardiac hospital in the nation? And then we've got 8 reasons why you'll love working there, or like one line about sign-on bonus. What we're saying, not to single this organization out, like most people are following the same idea. So I'm not picking on anyone in particular. What we're saying is, like, there's room for this, and it works, and you should be doing it if you can only put your heads together for a couple of hours and come up with that ad section for your advertisements. Because if you put an advertisement up and it's a job description, then it's a bit contradictory. You need to have an advertisement in your advertisement as well as the description. So that would be the encouragement. Jason, any passing comments?
Well, yeah. So at the end of the day, like, you want in that headline, people care about money the most when they're applying for jobs. So you want to have that as a main focal point. But if you cannot, due to restrictions, you want to have your backup plan of the storytelling. And when you combine the storytelling with all the other things we've mentioned, with the monetary offer that you can advertise out to the world, then you're pretty much set and you're pretty much confident that your ad is going to get engagement and is going to be successful.
Yeah, it's not complicated. This is like a simple thing that you can do to improve your application numbers. What we're going to do is bring in Patrick, who's going to close things off. But if you have any more questions before we go, then please, by all means, put them in the chat, and we shall discuss them.
Hello. How's it going, guys? Thanks for that. That's really interesting. Hopefully there's some pieces there, I think, that people can take away and start thinking about and working on. And I wonder, guys, if people do have questions, could they reach out to you on LinkedIn and ask questions to follow up if they haven't Appreciate
Yeah,
it, right?
LinkedIn's grand. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you'll be able to find them through Applichat Healthcare, and or if you're connected with me, you can check in with me. I can introduce you as well. So I want to close by just reminding that this is recorded. So if you want to watch it again and hear what the guys had to say again one more time, or if you want to share it, you'll be able to use the same link through our YouTube as well to watch this again. So feel free to share it with others as well. Do reach out on LinkedIn if you want to hear more about Applichat and how we're helping out, and you can join our Nurse Recruitment Secrets Facebook group and sign up for our webinars. As I mentioned, the link is in the chat above. And I also want to share with you the information about our next event, our next webinar. It is coming up in 2 weeks. I believe it's on August 11th. And let me just find that for you here. I will put that link in the chat, but it is going to be a webinar on the client experience. So we're really happy to be hosting the authors of a new book called, the Candidate Experience, not the Client Experience, new book called The Candidate Experience, How to Improve Talent Acquisition to Drive Business Performance. And that's Adela Schulderman and Kevin Grossman will be our guests. And that is on August 11th, and I'm going to put that in the chat, and feel free to join us. And yeah, I think it'll be an interesting conversation again as well. So find us there and join us again in 2 weeks. So I think that's it for me, guys, unless you have something else to share. And we'll look forward to our next event. I'm just looking for that link now, and then I'm going to get that in the chat right away here. Any last words?
Oh.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. That link's in the chat there now. It looks like we're freezing up a bit too. But thanks, everyone, for joining. Thanks, Jason, Adam, for your comments. And we look forward to connecting with folks and seeing you in our next event in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Later. Bye.
Bye-bye.